Hey guys, Pelican here. Welcome to my Stamblade solo PvP build for the current Deadlands patch as well as the upcoming Ascending Tides patch. The reason I've been waiting so long to make a build is because I've been testing a lot of different stuff on Stamblade and I think I finally found the most optimal setup for myself. And also because I was waiting for the upcoming PTS nodes just to make sure that uh, this build won't be changing next patch. And yeah, the PTS notes are up. I've already made a build. I already made a video on it, and I'm pretty sure at least for now, none of this build is going to change except maybe like one skill, next patch. So that's why I made this build video. Hopefully, it will be useful not only for this patch but also next patch. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So before I start, this is the full build right here. You can take a screenshot of it if you need for reference. And as usual, I will start by going through the sets. I'm running 2-piece Magma Incarnate, 1-piece Trainee, 5-piece Kauliron on the front bar, 5-piece Clever Alchemist on the back bar, and for my Mythic, I'm running the Marking Ring. So let's start off with the monster. Magma Incarnate, probably seen this set before. Very popular monster set, has an awesome 1-piece bonus, gives both Magicka and Stand Recovery. And the 2-piece bonus is really nice as well. We have about a 60% uptime on minor courage and minor resolve, so it's going to buff your damage, healing, and your defense. And defense is something you're going to see quite a bit on this Stamblade build, even though it's a roller blade, so it's a bit unique. We have a lot of other sources of resistance as well. So next set is Kauliron's Legacy. This is no doubt the strongest proc set for burst in this game. You can see the damage it deals is really high. It does about like 30% more damage than Surprise Attack, which is already a very powerful spammable. Surprise Attack can really hit like 8k crits on decently squishy people. You can easily get like over 10k Kauliron crits, especially if it hits them after incap. And on top of that, the 2 to 4 piece bonuses are really nice as well. You have additional crit chance and weapon damage. On this build, fully buffed, you are sitting at around 40% crit, which is quite high for the current patch. And the downside is, of course, is a light armor set. So if you're running Markin, you have no choice but to run Kauliron Jewelry as well as 1 light piece. So currently I run a light piece on the waist because it's the least, it gives the least resistance out of all the other pieces. My back bar set is Clever Alchemist. Again, very popular set. I use it in a lot of my builds nowadays. It's one of the best on-demand damage and healing sets. When you proc it, you gain a massive increase in damage, very good for bursting, and it also gives you more heals because your weapon damage increases. On top of that, it has a nice 2 to 3 piece bonus as well, gives you more max HP, lets us reach about 30k HP. As you can see, I aim for around 30k HP on the Stamblade. Now, alternatives to these sets, of course, instead of Kauliron, you can always run another damage set. There are a lot of other damage sets that can be run. For example, you can run Stones for more pen. You can even front bar Titanborn. And I used to run Titanborn, but I no longer run it. But front barring Titanborn will also buff your rally when your health is low. So it's kind of a nice additional healing as well. And of course, you can also run a weapon damage set like Briarheart or the possible alternatives for Kauliron. And for the alternatives for Alchemist, you can always choose to run like Powerful Assault. Like if you're running in a group, Powerful Assault is basically like a more consistent Clever Alchemist. It's 100% uptime, but you only gain half the weapon damage. And moving on to the Mythic, I'm running Markin. I believe this is no doubt the best Mythic in the game right now. I find it better than Talk. That's why I swapped out Talk for it. Gives you weapon damage as well as even more resistance. So we are stacking a lot of resistance on this Stamblade. So not only will we be very hard to hit, even if you are hit, we will also be absorbing a lot of damage. And finally, I'm running 1-piece Trainee to make up for the additional space. Just gives you more max health. Now I'll move on to my traits and enchantments. For my armor pieces, I'm running all well fitted, just to reduce the cost of well fit and sprint by a lot. This is a roller blade, so we are going to be rolling a lot on this. Well fitted is very nice. and I'm also running all tri-stat enchantments. I believe it's the most efficient way to get to get your HP stat, because you also increase your max stat in the process. And for my jewelry, I'm running 2 infused weapon damage and 1 swift with weapon damage. You can also choose to run infused on this if you want even more damage, but I find having 1 swift is really nice for me. You can even choose to run more swift if you want, but I think 1 swift is good enough. And for my front bar, I'm running a Sharpen Maw with Fire Enchantment. Sharpen Maw is the best way to go. Gives you the most damage. Of course, you lose a bit of healing for rally, but I believe the damage far outweighs the healing that you'll get otherwise. And the reason I choose Flame Enchantment is because of the burning status effect. As a nice little dot, sometimes it helps you finish off an enemy, but also because like literally everyone is a vampire this patch, so I think Flame is going to hit harder. You can also choose to run Shock instead for minor wound. And for my back bar, I'm running Defending with weapon damage. Again, more resistance. We are very tanky on our back bar. When fully buffed, I believe we are like near physical resistance cap, and we have like around 29k spell resistance. So really tanky even for a rollerblade. But the upside is that you still keep all your sustain as well as your damage. So I think that's all for the sets. Let's move on to the skills. So for my skills, I'm not going to go through every single skill because I'm still running the same skill setup as all my previous Stamblade builds, so I will not be explaining them. If you need the explanation, you can check out my previous Stamblade videos. But I will do mention for next patch, I'll probably be swapping out Relentless Focus for the other Moth, which deals 10% more damage and heals for a bit more. You do lose 6% crit because you do not benefit from minor savagery, but I think it's worth the additional 10% base damage. Yeah, so that's all for the skills. Not going to go through the rest. Now I'll be going through all the miscellaneous stuff, my attributes. So for my attributes, I'm running 55 stam and 9 HP. Again, it doesn't matter how you allocate this. Now some of you might realize that my max stam is really low, which can be a bit scary, but rest assured with so much sustain, I think it should be fine. Like I've tried open world in this and I don't feel like my max stam is in any danger of running out. You have so much recovery and your dodge roll costs very little, so it's nothing to worry about. And for my mundus, I'm running the Serpent. No doubt the best mundus for stamina characters. It's the most stat dense, gives you 310 stamina recovery. So no matter what, I recommend getting sustain from mundus and getting your damage from somewhere else. That's why I don't run. That's why I do not run stam recovery leaves and warrior. Instead, I do it the other way. And for my foot, I'm running the smoked bear haunch. Now I chose this over Artaeum because it is a lot more stat dense. Although it doesn't give you max stam, it does give you a lot of mag recovery and considerably more HP as well compared to Artaeum. And that's why our max stam is so low, but Serpent and Bear Haunch is needed to make up for not having Talk. And of course, I'm also a Vampire stage 3. I believe every PvP build should be a Vampire now. The Undeath passive is way too strong not to use. And on top of that, you also get weapon damage whenever you cloak, which is quite a considerable amount as well. This will be up a lot. And other than that, for my race, I'm a Wood Elf. I believe it's the best race for a rollerblade. Gives you 5% more movement speed, almost 1k pen, which is roughly like 2% damage. This stam recovery as well as max stam, and disease and poison resistance. So it's nice against DKs. And yeah, for my potions, I'm running physical resist pots, so yes, even more physical resistance. I'm not running tripods because I believe I already have enough mag recovery. But if you want, you can always swap this to tripods and then run Artaeum instead. But I believe Bear Haunch and physical resist pots are the more efficient way to. It's a more efficient way to run this build. And another reason I like having physical resistance pods is because you might realize I'm in 6 medium 1 light, and that might seem a bit squishy, like I'm not running a heavy reinforced chest. I used to run a heavy reinforced chest, but I swapped it out for well fitted, and honestly I felt even tankier with this because I'm just able to roll so much more. And the light armor piece does makes you squishier, especially to physical damage because of the debuff, but the physical resist pod will more than enough make up for it. So I think that's all for yeah, that's about everything I have to say. Now let's move on to the CP. So I'll only be going through the slotted CP. For the blue slotted CP, it is very standard stuff. Duelist rebuff, Ironclad for your defense, and Master at Arms and Deadly Aim for your damage. Both of these very good for Stamblade, benefits almost all your attacks. And for the red CP, I'm running Relentlessness. This is very nice, especially for a rollerblade, because even with so much resistance on our build, a rollerblade is still inherently squishy. So I believe one of the times where you're most vulnerable is when you're CC'd on a rollerblade, because you're not dodging attacks. So I believe having the major protection passive is really, really useful to help you survive that. Sustained by Suffering, I run this for my sustain. It's better than Rejuvenation, and it's up pretty much almost all the time if you're outnumbered. Survival Instincts, very strong stem sustain skill. This is also pretty much going to be up almost all the time. And finally, Pain's Refuge, very, very useful for outnumbered PvP because of the increasing defense you get. This will you can probably easily get like over 10% resistance at all times from this skill. In some cases, even up to the cap. So this is pretty much a core CP for any outnumbered PvP builds. Even if you are not planning to fight outnumbered, this is still a very solid CP to slot. So that's all for the CP. So that's all for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Hopefully there won't be any new big changes that could force me to change this build again for next patch, but shouldn't be the case since most of such changes are done in the first cycle. So this build should still remain the same. If you want to see this build in action, feel free to check out my latest 1vx montage. Once again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.